Secret Invasion is the newest MCU show to come to Disney Plus, and it follows Nick Fury as he has to take on a secret army of Skrulls who are trying to infiltrate Earth and start a war so that they can wipe out the humans and have Earth as their new home. Their leader is Gravik, who has a personal beef with Fury, which is motivating him, and Fury has to use both humans and Skrulls to aid him in helping to stop this invasion. When I saw the trailer for this a few months ago, I thought that actually looks pretty good. It looks like it might be a different sort of theme for the MCU. It looks like it might actually be a bit different. It looks like it's, a bit of espionage, a bit of thriller, and I thought it could be an exciting show. But of course, the MCU will always be the MCU, and once again, this MCU show is kind of your bog standard, cliche MCU content. The end result is a slightly entertaining show with some decent performances, but a pretty uninspired and uninteresting story. I mean, let's get one thing straight. Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury is great. He always has been great. He always will be great as his character because it's Samuel L. Jackson. The man knows what he's doing. He's definitely the standout. He doesn't miss a beat and he elevates this show. There are a lot of good actors in this show who put in strong performances and, they definitely all bring something to the show to, make it that bit better. But it doesn't hide the fact that this story and this show in general just felt pretty rushed and predictable for the most part. Gravik and his Skrull army are essentially going undercover, pretending to be people of power in an attempt to start World War III on Earth so that humans will wipe each other out. And this is a cool idea, shape-shifting aliens that look like humans orchestrating a war and remaining unseen. And this show would have been really good if it had sort of remained more mysterious and, like I said, a bit more of an espionage type thing, a bit more of a thriller. Instead, it's more on the nose. It's pretty action heavy. The writing isn't particularly, great. It felt quite easy to predict a lot of the time, and it felt quite easy to predict who was a Skrull and who wasn't. There were certain scenes where you think, yeah, I'm pretty sure that person might be a Skrull. And then it turns out they were, and you just sort of think, well, it was never really that hard to guess who was undercover and who wasn't. And this show eventually builds to a climax showdown that was very typical of the MCU and very, very cringe. It was very cliche and it just felt like a bit of a letdown for the villains who have been building up to a certain point, and then this is just how it climaxed. I don't want to get into too many spoilers, but this show obviously has the Skrulls and their ability is to shapeshift, and that is their power. They can deceive and infiltrate. But for some reason, a bit of a silly element was just thrown into this show. Spoiler alert, but that silly element was Avengers DNA. And basically you had Skrulls sort of injecting themselves in a way with Avengers DNA so that they could get Avengers powers, and then when you get to this kind of final fight, you've got people with Hulk arms and Korg arms and Mantis abilities, and they're flying around like Captain Marvel. And it was really, really cringe. A show like this, which is about these this alien race that has the ability to sort of deceive and go undercover, you really do not need a boss fight. You do not need superpowers. You can step away from that. And it felt kind of almost like disrespectful to these characters, saying that they're just not that cool. What they're doing in terms of like going undercover and trying to cause a war is just not good enough, so let's just give them Hulk arms. And it was just really kind of just lazy and cheap, it felt like. And all because this show just wanted to have like a final boss fight type thing, just to say it did in the final episode. And honestly, I think just a Pistols at Dawn situation would have been better. I do think the plot is a cool idea, like so many of the recent Marvel projects that have failed recently, and I just wish it was made in a way that played to the strengths of the story. Look at the story, what is it? It is more of a thriller thing. It's more of a mystery thing. So make the show, kind of tailor it to, bring out the best of those themes. But instead, it just kind of uses that same MCU formula. And each story, there's so much range in the MCU. You do need to change it about. You do need to make some stories a certain way and some stories a different way. But they all just seem to come together and kind of feel the same. One thing I can give this show credit for is there were not really any shitty jokes. I don't think there was actually any point where they did like some cringe humor. Maybe there was, but for the most part it was absent. So maybe they are learning. Maybe they're knowing that, jokes do not make everything. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter to have a few, that's harmless, but obviously a lot of their content is just mainly been based around humor. So it was nice that they kind of eliminated that factor here and had it be a bit more serious. But saying that, I do think it could have been a bit darker, as well as having a couple less main characters and just focus on a few select people, because I think this show felt a bit scattered. We were jumping around quite a lot. And it is quite a short series, it's 6 episodes long, and it felt like the story was kind of started and resolved quite quickly, so I think they either needed more episodes or longer episodes, because each episode was like 35 to 40 minutes for the most part. So, you know, I think if you make them 45, 50 minutes, you know, it would have just been more effective for it, and also time being spent more wisely. You know, I don't think the time was always spent in the best way here. So I think it is a bit of a shame, because I'm not saying you need 2 seasons of this, because I don't think that's necessary, but I just think you needed a more dense season with more content. Of course, there are some good things about this show, Sam L. Jackson being the main one, supporting cast are all strong, CGI looked pretty good, and this was more serious than a lot of projects, and I just liked the story, the idea for this plot. But unfortunately, they killed off some good characters in this show, you know, ones that have kind of been around for a while, and it almost felt a bit brief and just kind of just not very, almost honourable. I can't really think of the word, to the characters that they killed off. It felt like they kind of deserved a bit more, a bit better. And they also don't round the story off all that well. They do that thing that they've been doing a lot recently, where they sort of just leave the door slightly ajar, so that, you know, if they want to carry it on, they can, but if they don't, it's not really a big deal, because they haven't really left things in a place where it's like really set up for more. It's just kind of like, yeah, we might go back to it. The door's slightly open, you know, here's little breadcrumbs that we might revisit, but whether they bother or not is obviously up to them, and, you know, it's in their hands what they want to revisit and what they don't. It's a bit annoying, really, because MCU seems to do that a lot, where they just keep leaving things like projects open, but then, you know, they might not be revisited for years, or they might not be revisited at all. And sometimes it's nice to just have a story closed off and, you know, completed, rather than like everything just sort of left slightly open. This show was fine. Obviously, it's miles better than She-Hulk, but it's still not near to how good Loki was as an MCU show was. Obviously, that's the standard. I feel like the best one they've made was Loki, and that wasn't exactly 10 out of 10, but it was definitely the best one they made. And, you know, this kind of lies, I guess, somewhere in the middle. I mean, She-Hulk is easily the worst thing ever, but yeah, this wasn't great. It was a good story with some good, you know, actors and some good performances, but I just don't think the execution was all that good, and it's a bit of a shame, really. It feels like a wasted opportunity again. I would give Secret Invasion a 6.5 out of 10, and on the rewatchability rating, I would give it a 2. I know it seems harsh, but I just really have no desire to rewatch this. I think it's very just, you watch it and it's done, and I would not rewatch this, I don't think, at all, you know, if it comes to like a second season comes along, because I think it's pretty easy to condense and remember what happened in this show. So yeah, if you've seen Secret Invasion, let me know what you think about it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.